Olive is an ostrich. She lives with her family in the outback. But Olive is very different. Olive's dad loves to run. Olive isn't a fast runner. Olive's mum enjoys laying huge eggs. Olive doesn't like the look of that at all. Olive's little brother pecks at the ground to find tasty roots to eat. Pecking at the ground makes Olive sneeze. But Olive has an incredible imagination. So while the rest of her family are running, pecking and laying eggs, Olive can be found imagining herself going on amazing adventures when she buries her head down, down into the sand. Until she popped up somewhere new.
This is a spectacular place.
Olive saw a man with a huge curly moustache. He wore a red and black tunic with a crown on the front.
I'm Olive. Where am I, please?
I'm Beefy the Beefeater. You're on a tour of the Tower of London.
He answered.
I'm in London.
Olive found a camera hanging around her neck and snapped a few pictures.
And if you look to your right, you'll see the ravens. Tradition says they must never leave the tower, or the kingdom will fall. And not a single one has. Not on my watch, anyhow.
Hello. What's your name?
Olive asked.
Roberta.
And why do you look so sad, Roberta?
Because I really want to explore London, like those tourists over there. I want to see all the sights, Big Ben, Buckingham Palace, and especially Trafalgar Square.
But of course you can't leave the tower.
Said Olive.
No, and Beefy is always watching and counting us.
So you need to somehow get away without Beefy realising.
Olive looked around and saw an ice cream van nearby. She also saw a lady tourist wearing a long black raincoat.
An ice cream van. A black raincoat. I think I may have an idea. Please, can I borrow your raincoat?
Olive asked the lady, who nodded. Then she bought an ice cream cone from the ice cream van. Olive put on the black raincoat and stuck the cone onto her own beak, using the ice cream to make it stick. She looked just like a raven. Well, almost.
I'll pretend to be you, Roberta, while you go to see the sights of London.
Wow, great idea.
When Beefy was looking the other way, Roberta made a dash through the tower gates. Olive tried to blend in with the other ravens, but she was so tall she really stuck out. What was worse, the ice cream cone was melting, dripping into a growing puddle at her feet. Beefy walked over and began counting the ravens.
1, 2, 3, 4...
When he got to Olive, he stopped and raised an eyebrow. Said Olive. It was a pretty good impression of a raven. Beefy shrugged and continued to count.
5, 6 ravens. Excellent.
But now, Olive's ice cream had melted so much, the cone fell off her beak.
Hang on a raven counting minute. You're not a raven. You're an ostrich. I'd better count again.
Oh, no. He's going to realise there's one raven missing.
Beefy began to count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5?
But just in the nick of time, Roberta came swooping in over the Tower of London's walls. She landed just behind Beefy. Said Roberta loudly. Beefy spun round.
Aha! There's number 6, all safe and sound. What was I thinking? It's not like these ravens ever leave the tower. Not on my watch, anyway.
Beefy walked off to get his dinner.
No, us ravens never leave the tower.
Chuckled Roberta. This made Olive and the other ravens laugh too. And as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Okay. Actually, I've been a raven in the Tower of London.
Your head's been in the sand too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive was standing on a huge green lawn. She was wearing a little hat and a red, white and blue scarf. On the scarf was a little metal brooch. Olive looked up. There was a huge pointy tower in front of her. It looked just like her brooch.
Oh, that's a very tall tower.
It was a wonderful sunny day and lots of tourists were happily strolling around. But there was also a snail sitting all alone and looking rather sad.
Excuse me, can you tell me what this beautiful tower is? It's so tall.
The snail looked surprised.
Don't you know? This is the famous Eiffel Tower.
It's beautiful. I'm Olive. What's your name?
I'm Michel Michisson.
Nice to meet you, Michelle. Why do you look so sad?
Well, I want to climb to the top of the Eiffel Tower to see the All of Paris. I have tried many times, but I am so slow that I will never make it before the sun sets. They say it is magnifique. It is my dream.
Olive looked around and saw a clown who was giving out big balloons to the children passing by. The clown accidentally let go of one of the balloons and it floated off into the sky.
Some big balloons that float up into the sky. I think I may have an idea. Excuse me,
Said Olive to the clown.
I wondered if you could help me put a smile on someone's face.
Of course, I am a clown. That's what we do.
Can I borrow a balloon, please?
The clown nodded. Olive took a big red balloon from the clown and tied it around Michelle. But nothing happened.
What are you doing, Olive?
Asked Michelle, confused.
You'll see. Can I borrow another balloon, please?
This time the clown passed a big blue balloon to Olive, who tied that to the snail too. Still, nothing happened.
Oh, you're heavier than you look, Michelle. I think I'm going to need to borrow all those balloons, please.
The clown gave Olive the rest of the balloons, and she tied them all over Michelle and quickly hopped onto his back as he started to lift off the ground.
Oh, Olive, this is amazing.
Okay, we're flying.
They floated higher and higher, passing the first floor of the Eiffel Tower, then the second floor, and finally they were as high as the Eiffel Tower itself. Michelle was thrilled.
Oh, thank you, Olive. Finally, I get to see Paris from above. There is Notre Dame, Sacré-Cœur, and the Arc de Triomphe. Everything is so amazing.
Gag, what a view.
However, after a while, Olive realised she hadn't thought about how they would get back down.
We can't float about here all day.
No. Besides, I really could do with some lunch, you know. Maybe a salad.
It was then she remembered the Eiffel Tower brooch attached to her scarf.
Oh, I know what to do.
She took the brooch off the scarf, opened it, and popped one of the balloons with the pin. Then another, then another. They started to drift slowly back down to the ground. People watching clapped and cheered as Olive and Michelle gently landed.
Thank you, Olive. You made me smile again and made my dream come true to see Paris from above. It was a marvelous adventure.
Yes, it was. I'm glad I managed to cheer you up.
They both laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Kirk, actually, I've been flying over Paris on a snail.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive saw beautiful plants and flowers everywhere. She was in the jungle. Olive was wearing an explorer's hat and boots. She had a camera and a magnifying glass.
Kirk, I have everything I need to explore this place.
She was about to set off when she noticed something odd. Some leaves which seemed to float along above the ground. Olive took out her magnifying glass and looked closer at the leaves.
Those leaves aren't floating. Tiny ants are carrying them to their anthill.
Olive photographed the ants and walked off into the trees. First, she passed a splashing waterfall. Olive took a photo with her camera. Next, she passed an enormous blue flower. She took a photo of that too. Finally, she found herself on a cliff top where she took a photo of the spectacular view. Olive thought she'd stop to take a rest. Suddenly, she heard a little voice.
I I'm lost. Could you please help me find my way back home?
Olive turned and saw a brightly coloured parrot.
Well, sure. I'd love to help you. I'm Olive.
Well, sure. I'd love to help you. I'm Olive.
Olive was confused.
No, my name's Olive. What's yours?
No, my name's Olive. What's yours?
Wait, why are you repeating everything I say?
Wait, why are you repeating everything I say?
I'm sorry. I should probably be getting on my way.
I'm sorry. I should probably be getting on my way. No, please don't go. I really am lost. My name is Anthony the Ant, and I really want to go home.
I think you're a parrot, not an ant.
I think you're a parrot.
Okay, that's enough.
Said Olive. Olive held a magnifying glass up to the parrot's face, and sitting on top of the parrot's head was a tiny little ant.
You see, I'm using the parrot to talk for me because my voice is so tiny and quiet.
Olive plucked the ant carefully from the parrot's head, and the parrot flew away.
It's good to meet you, Anthony. Maybe I can help you find your way home.
Well, I live in a huge ant hill. Have you seen it?
You mean like this one?
Yes, that's my home. Can you take me there, Olive?
Olive wasn't sure she knew which direction to take. It was then she remembered all the other photos she'd taken while walking all day, and could see she had made footprints as she walked.
A trail of footprints showing where I came from. And lots of photographs. I think I may have an idea.
Olive placed Anthony on her shoulder and began walking back, retracing the footprints she'd left.
If I look through my photos, I can find your anthill, Anthony.
Using the photos, she walked back, past the spectacular view, then past the enormous blue flower, and then past the splashing waterfall. Finally, Olive and Anthony arrived back at the anthill. Loads of ants came out to welcome him home. They were so pleased, they picked Olive up and cheered.
I think I might be getting ants in my pants.
Exclaimed Olive. Olive and the ants all laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Okay. Actually, I helped an ant in the jungle.
Your head's been in the sand too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive was standing in a long, thin room with lots of windows and seats down either side. She was wearing a rather smart blue dress and hat. There was a lady dressed the same as Olive standing between the rows of seats.
Hello, I'm Olive.
Hello, I'm Daisy. You must be the new flight attendant.
Flight 321 to Paradise Island. Passengers should board in 3, 2, 1.
A tannoy announced. Olive had to jump out of the way as a stampede of passengers rushed to their seats.
Hey, watch out!
The plane took off straight away.
I can see the sun.
I'm ever so high.
Being a flight attendant is easy.
Said Daisy.
All you have to do is make sure the passengers are happy and they get their dinner on time.
Oh, that does sound pretty easy.
Said Olive. Daisy unbuckled her belt and reached under the seat, pulling out a box of eye masks, which she dumped in Olive's wings.
Right, first task is to pass around these eye masks.
Olive gave an eye mask to each passenger.
Good job, Olive.
Said Daisy. It was almost time for dinner. The smell of the food was wafting out of the kitchen, making the passengers hungry.
Is dinner ready? I'm hungry.
Called a man.
My tummy's rumbling really badly.
Whined a little girl.
What happens if the passengers don't get the dinner?
Asked Olive. Daisy frowned.
They get unhappy and we don't want unhappy passengers. Right, Olive. Dinner trolleys are ready to go. We just have to push them down the aisle so we can give the passengers their dinner trays.
Olive jumped behind the trolley and pushed hard. The trolley jerked forward for a moment, but then it stopped.
It looks like I'm stuck.
Cried Olive.
The wheels must have jammed. Oh, how are we going to get the dinners to the passengers now?
We're getting very unhappy.
Yes, very unhappy.
Shouted the passengers.
Olive, what are we going to do?
Olive scratched her beak and looked around. At her feet was one of the eye masks. She picked it up and looked down the aisle, where she spotted coat hooks above every single seat.
A line of coat hooks, eye masks. I think I may have an idea.
Olive tied together lots and lots of eye masks. She then looped them over the coat hooks and got the passengers to do the same all the way down the plane.
Right, Daisy. We need to tie the dinner trays to the eye masks.
Olive tugged on the eye masks and the dinner trays started travelling along the plane down to the passengers. Then the trays dropped in front of each passenger one by one. The whole plane load of people cheered before they tucked into their dinners.
Good job, Olive.
Said Daisy.
The passengers would have been lost without you.
I don't know about lost, but they certainly would have been hungry.
They both laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Okay. Actually, I've been an air hostess in an aeroplane.
Your head's been in the sand too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive was in a small, dimly lit room. In front of her were lots of buttons and levers and colourful flashing lights.
Where am I?
Some lights shone out over a beautiful underwater world outside the window.
Gag, what a view!
There were hundreds and hundreds of fish swimming around in front of an enormous blue canyon.
Oh, I'm in a submarine deep in the ocean. I can't wait to explore.
Olive pushed a big red lever marked forward and the submarine dived deep down into the canyon. Olive spotted the opening to a cave.
Interesting.
Said Olive as she drove her submarine right into the cave.
It's even darker in here than it was before.
Olive drove through a big patch of seaweed.
Oh no, now I can't see where I'm going.
The seaweed suddenly came to life and picked up the submarine.
Ow.
Then in the headlights loomed the big green face of an octopus.
Hello.
Bubbled the octopus.
Gag, who are you?
My name's Jonah. I've been trapped inside this whale for days. It's so good to finally meet someone new.
My name's Olive. But what do you mean trapped inside the whale? I just drove into a cave.
Oh no, that was a huge whale's mouth you drove into, Olive. And now he's closed it shut. There's no escape.
But Gag, that doesn't sound good. We need to make the whale open his mouth again. Maybe I could turn my engines all the way up, and then the bubbles will make the whale cough. Then we can escape when he opens his mouth.
Olive turned the submarine's engines onto full power, and the water started to bubble up.
Oh, that didn't work.
But then the bubbles Olive had made tickled Jonah on the tummy.
Oh, those bubbles tickle.
An octopus with 8 legs. Tickling? I think I may have an idea. Jonah, if you use all your legs, you can tickle the inside of the whale's stomach and make him laugh. Then we can escape through his mouth.
Oh, I think that might just work.
He stretched out his 8 long arms and began to tickle the whale's tummy.
Tickle harder! Tickle harder!
Cried Olive. Jonah tickled as fast as he could. A wall of bubbles started rushing down the tunnel towards Olive and Jonah.
Watch out!
Ricky! What's happening?
I think we might be going out of the top.
The top?
Olive and Jonah were fired out of the whale's blowhole, up high in the sky. Then they started to fall back towards the water.
Wow!
Jonah clung to Olive's submarine with his 8 tentacles as they fell. His body inflated like a parachute, drifting them both gently down to the surface of the water.
Well, that was a lovely, gentle landing.
Oh, thanks so much, Olive. I'm free at last.
That's okay. I think we've all had a whale of a time.
They both laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Okay, actually, I've been helping an octopus escape a whale.
Your head's been in the sand too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. Olive was standing on a steep slope covered in crunchy white snow. It was very cold. She was wearing a thick, puffy coat and a bobble hat.
I'm glad I've got these warm clothes.
Oh, yes, you can say that again.
Said a voice. Olive turned to see a little man with a huge bushy beard. He was only wearing a vest and pants. He was shivering quite a lot.
I'm Olive. Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Sir Edmund Hillertop, a famous mountaineer. I climb all the tallest mountains.
Oh, so is this a tall mountain?
Tall? Olive, old bean, this is Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world, and I'm climbing to the summit.
But, Sir Edmund, what's happened to all your clothes? Aren't you cold?
Oh, there was this huge gust of wind. It blew away all my warm clothes, along with my map, compass, and packed lunch. So now I'm rather chilly, hungry, and lost.
Well, I'm not sure how to help. I'm no mountaineer.
Suddenly, there was an enormous growl. Out from behind a rock jumped a huge, fairy, man-shaped thing. It was growling, and it didn't sound at all happy to see them.
Oh, that's the infamous Yeti! Run for it before he eats us for his dinner! Wait! He's got my map, compass, and packed lunch! Oi! Give those back!
Oh, I think that's the last we'll see of those. Oh, dear. I think he's still hungry. Maybe he's going to eat us next.
She had to think fast.
Sir Edmund, do you have any food at all?
Well, I do have my emergency cupcake. Always keep one tucked away.
A cupcake? A hungry Yeti? I think I may have an idea.
Olive took the cupcake from Sir Edmund and held it out to the Yeti. The Yeti grabbed the cupcake and gobbled it down. Yum, said the Yeti. He seemed very happy.
Oh, I think he wants your poles too, Edmund.
Said Olive. Edmund handed them over. The Yeti used them as needles to knit a long scarf out of his own fur. He gave it to Edmund. Edmund wrapped the scarf around himself.
Well, thanks very much. This Yeti scarf really is very warm.
I think he wants to lead us to the summit of Everest.
Said Olive. So Olive and Sir Edmund followed the Yeti all the way to the summit.
We've conquered Everest!
Beamed Sir Edmund.
And you're the first ever ostrich to climb it. Congratulations, Olive.
That's lovely. But how do we get down again?
Suddenly, the Yeti gave Olive and Sir Edmund a push. They went sliding all the way down Mount Everest on their bottoms, and the Yeti slid down behind. Cried Olive as she slid. At the bottom, they ended up in a snowdrift.
Oh, that was fun.
Thanks so much for all your help, Olive.
I think you've got yourself a new mountain climbing best friend forever.
Chuckled Olive. They all laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Cake? Actually, I climbed Mount Everest and met a Yeti.
Your head's been in the sand too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. The sun was high in the sky, and Olive found herself in the middle of a desert. She was wearing a strange hat.
Oh, Cake! What a big fancy hat. But where am I? And what are these big spiky things? Are they some sort of plant?
Suddenly, something long and squiggly appeared right behind Olive. When she noticed it, she was so surprised she stumbled back straight into one of the spiky plants.
Ow! Ow! Me bottom! Me bottom! Oh!
I'm sorry. Please let me help you.
Olive sighed, relieved.
I'm Olive. Thanks so much for pulling out those horrible spikes. I didn't hear you coming. That's why I got so surprised.
Hola, I am Reptilina. I am a rattlesnake. Sorry that I scared you.
That's okay. I could see you're not scary.
Whenever I try to make friends, they always get scared away. Other rattlesnakes have rattles on their tails, so you can hear them coming. But mine, it don't work, see? People get scared of snakes, especially when they can't hear them coming.
Well, we'll have to find something that can make your tail sound again.
Olive looked around the desert. Soon, she spotted an old bicycle horn.
Oh, this will make a great new sound for your tail.
She carefully attached the horn to Reptilina's tail, and Reptilina tried it out.
It's a nice sound, but not quite right.
What about these?
Olive had found some bells on the ground. Reptilina tried them instead of the horn.
It's a bit closer, but my tail should rattle, you know.
Olive looked around once more. She spotted some rubbish left after a campfire.
An empty can of beans, some small rocks, and a stick. I think I may have an idea.
Olive put the small rocks and the stick inside the can. Then she attached it to Reptilina's tail.
Give this a try.
Olive, this is perfect. Thank you so much.
Suddenly, Olive and Reptilina heard some music. Two men in big hats appeared. Both were playing guitars.
Hola, we are local mariachi band, and that is beautiful sounding rattling tail you have. Why, thank you.
Replied Reptilina.
Hey, our drummer, he is very ill after eating a mega spicy burrito, and now we can't keep our rhythm.
Said the other mariachi.
But maybe you, your amazing rattling tail, could join our band.
I think I'm too shy.
Reptilina said sadly.
Don't be shy, Reptilina.
Said Olive.
I'll even join in myself.
Olive picked up the horn.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. This must be the best sounding rattle tail ever.
Olive played along with Reptilina and the mariachi band until the sun was setting.
Thanks so much for getting me my rattle back.
Said Reptilina.
And thanks for finding us a new rhythm section.
Said the mariachi.
That's okay.
Said Olive.
I was a bit rattled when I first arrived, but now I feel just fine.
They all laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Okay, actually, I was in a band with a rattlesnake.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure. It was a place covered in soft yellow sand, and it was next to a glistening blue sea.
It's a lovely sandy beach.
Olive looked down and saw she was wearing flippers. She tried to walk but fell flat on her beak.
Don't worry, little ostrich.
Boomed a loud voice.
I'll save you.
A strong-looking horse helped Olive up. He had the shiniest mane of hair and the brightest smile she had ever seen. He wore a red jacket and spoke into a megaphone.
Hi, I'm David Hoppyhoof, beach lifeguard.
Dang, your loud voice is making me ears ring.
You'll get used to it. I'm always here, so if anybody gets into any trouble on this beach, I will rescue them.
Well, you're a real hero.
Just doing my job.
Boomed David as he proudly combed his shiny hair. Just then, Olive heard a cry coming from the sea. Two tigers were in trouble. Their claws had punctured their rubber dinghy.
Help! We're sinking.
David, those tigers need your help.
But David had disappeared. Olive couldn't see him anywhere. Then she noticed a very funny-looking sandcastle. Olive shook her head.
Why are you pretending to be a sandcastle, David? Those tigers need you to rescue them.
I can't.
But that's your job. You're the beach lifeguard.
I was only pretending. I've always wanted to be a lifeguard, so I borrowed this outfit. The truth is, I never rescued anyone.
David started to cry.
You see, I hate the water. It makes my hair go all frizzy.
Help, we're still sinking.
Olive spotted David's huge comb and a surfboard lying nearby.
Oh, cool. A surfboard? I think I may have an idea.
David and Olive grabbed the surfboard and using David's comb as a paddle, they paddled out and rescued the tigers.
Hooray, you're our heroes.
They paddled back to the beach. David didn't get a drop of water on his shiny hair until...
There you go, my tiger friends. Back safely on dry land.
As David lifted the tigers onto the beach, he started to wobble.
Oh.
And then he toppled backwards into the sea.
Oh, your hair looks different.
Exclaimed Olive.
I love it. It's so big and it's so bouncy. It's really beach chic. Excuse me.
Came a stern voice. It belonged to an even bigger horse. He really did look like a lifeguard.
My name is Big Jim, and I am the lifeguard of this beach. What are you doing with my megaphone? I'm sorry. I only borrowed it so I could pretend to be a lifeguard like you.
Big Jim smiled.
I think you should keep it. After seeing you bravely rescue those tigers, I think you would make a great assistant lifeguard. Why, thank you.
Beamed David. He was thrilled. He couldn't believe his dream had finally come true.
And now you've got the perfect beach haircut as well.
Said Olive. They all laughed. And as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Kirk, actually, I've been helping Hoppy Hoof the lifeguard.
Your head's been in the sand too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure.